Emily had always believed that life, no matter how difficult, could still be guided by kindness, and that belief was tested more than she ever imagined in the quiet town of Kentucky, where she grew up alongside her best friend Olivia, a bond so deep that people often thought they were sisters rather than friends. And from childhood through their school years, they shared everything: dreams, laughter, fears, and even their plans for the future, always promising each other that one day they would leave their small town behind and build a better life. But after graduation, reality came crashing in when opportunities were scarce, and with no clear direction, both of them were forced to return to the same town they had hoped to outgrow, a place that now felt smaller than ever. And while Emily remained patient and hopeful, always trying to find light even in uncertainty, Olivia slowly began to lose that sense of hope, feeling trapped and frustrated, questioning all the years they had worked so hard, until one day she simply disappeared without telling anyone, leaving Emily confused and worried. Days turned into weeks, and just as Emily was trying to make sense of her friend's absence, life dealt her another heavy moment when she discovered she was expecting a child, something that brought both fear and a fragile sense of hope. But that hope didn't last long, as complications arose and her baby didn't survive, leaving Emily heartbroken and emotionally drained. And as if that wasn't enough, shortly after, her fiancé Jack left town, promising to return but offering little comfort, leaving Emily to face her grief alone. And just when things seemed at their lowest, Emily returned, but she was not the same person who had left. She looked pale, exhausted, and heavily pregnant, her eyes filled with regret and unspoken pain. And when Emily rushed to her side asking what had happened, Olivia could barely answer, only whispering an apology as if carrying a burden too heavy to explain. The next morning, everything changed again when Olivia suddenly went into labor, and Emily, without hesitation, ran to get help, doing everything she could to support her friend. And despite the tension and fear, 2 baby boys were born, Noah and Ethan. But Olivia, weak and fading, held Emily's hand and made one final request, asking her to take care of the twins, to give them the love and life she feared she could not. And through tears, Emily promised, not fully understanding how she would manage, but knowing she could not turn away from that responsibility. And after Olivia passed, Emily was left holding not only her grief, but also the future of 2 innocent lives, hoping that Olivia's family would step in. But instead, they rejected the children completely, refusing to acknowledge them, leaving Emily shocked and alone. And when Jack returned, for a brief moment it seemed like things might stabilize, as he offered support. But that didn't last, as the pressure of the situation and the opinions of others slowly changed him. Until one day, he demanded that Emily give the children away, and when she refused, choosing compassion over comfort, he asked her to leave, forcing her out of the home she once believed was her safe place. And with nowhere else to go, Emily gathered what little she had, held Ethan in her arms, secured Noah close to her, and stepped into an uncertain future, determined to keep her promise no matter the cost. And after a long journey, she reached Louisville, where survival became her daily focus, finding temporary shelter in an abandoned roadside stall, doing small jobs, selling whatever she could to earn enough for food, often going without herself just to make sure the boys were fed. And despite exhaustion, she never allowed her situation to harden her heart, still choosing to help others whenever she could, which led to a moment that would quietly change everything, when she saw an elderly man being treated unfairly in the market, and without thinking twice, she stepped in, defending him, even though it risked her already fragile position. And though the moment passed quickly, the man noticed her courage and kindness, introducing himself as Mr. Henry, someone who had seen much of life and recognized genuine goodness when he saw it. And after a brief conversation, he offered her and the twins a place to stay, not out of obligation, but out of respect for the compassion she had shown. And for the first time in a long while, Emily felt a sense of relief, a small but meaningful turning point. And living with Mr. Henry didn't solve everything overnight, but it gave her stability, allowing her to slowly rebuild her life, finding small work opportunities, learning new skills, and raising Noah and Ethan with the same values she had always believed in, teaching them kindness, resilience, and the importance of standing by what is right, even when it is difficult. And as the years passed, those lessons shaped the boys into thoughtful and determined individuals who worked hard, supported each other, and carried forward the strength they had inherited from Emily's choices. And eventually, their dedication and vision opened doors they had never imagined, allowing them to build successful careers and create opportunities not only for themselves, but for others as well. And through it all, Emily remained the quiet force behind their journey, never seeking recognition, only grateful that the promise she had made had led to a future filled with possibility, proving that even in the face of loss and uncertainty, a single decision rooted in kindness can echo across years, shaping lives in ways no one could have predicted, and reminding us that sometimes the most difficult paths lead to the most meaningful outcomes.